We're here. We're here. Just FYI, time of this recording, I literally just got back in from driving, so I may or may not have like absolutely zero energy, but that has no bearing on this episode at all.
We are here for the people. So I'm Demetrius,
And I'm Demetrius,
and Meet Meets presents.
the Blerd City Podcast.
All right, so we had to bring back on a special guest today. We have our boy Dalton for this episode. So we are getting into Gladiator 2, a movie that has been 20 plus years in the making. So something we were excited about. We've been warning people for like the past few months that Gladiator 2, along with Wicked, dropping on the same weekend. I mean, by the time this episode is dropped, I've seen both movies. So we're going to get into Gladiator 2. We're going to start with the pre-chat spoilers, some related recommendations, get into the movie, hand out awards and tiers of the movie, and then just like discuss anything further with that. So let's get into it. But hit us with that legal spiegel.
All right, the purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
All right, so Dalton, with you being the guest, what were kind of like your feelings walking into the movie, just kind of like after so long between two movies?
I was kind of excited just to, I guess, see like where they take it or where they were going to take it. I didn't, I guess, try to watch too many trailers, get too much information. I kind of wanted to just take it in and, I guess, just witness it.
That's reasonable. Me?
Yeah, I was at first, I was like, wait, they doing a sequel after all this time? That's crazy. And it was like, all right, I got to watch it because Gladiator is like one of my favorite movies, my favorite, fantasy / historical films. So like, I'll always go back and rewatch it. And then I saw like the cast. I'm like, hey, yo, hold on, what they got Denzel doing in here? I needs to watch.
Oh, we will get into Denzel in this movie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we will get into Denzel in this movie. Talk about trying to get another Oscar. So with that, just for my initial thoughts of it, I was definitely hyped, kind of just like walking into it of like, oh, that feel definitely like, oh, there's going to be a spectacle aspect of the movie to that extent. So with that, we're just going to get into our thoughts of the movie, quickly recap it, and then just break down some talking points. Only related recommendation that I would have is just obviously the first Gladiator. This movie definitely leans very heavily on aspects of the first Gladiator movie. So we're going to jump into it in 3, 2, 1. All right, so to just generally start the movie, I will be calling him Lucius this entire time, what his mama named him and also his Christian name. So he was started as Hanno, but essentially we see colonizers' favorite thing to do, attack an African colony and try to colonize them. So that's exactly how this movie starts with that. So any thoughts you have, Meech? I see you shaking your head.
That is absolutely absurd. But yes, his name is Lucius, the name of his mama, the same character. Also, I do want to put this on record that the experience in the theater was absolutely wild, to say the least.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, because of the fact that firstly, could barely find parking anywhere.
Oh.
And you want to know the reason why? Because the Wicked people were in full force at the theater we went to. Like, had folks like literally in line just to take pictures in front of the poster. And I'm just like, hey, yo, like people in all types of pink and green. I'm just like, dang, this is crazy. And then, of course, getting to the Gladiator, every seat filled. I'm like, all right, this is what it's supposed to be. All right, let's get it. But yeah, say Lucius. And then, of course, you got General Cassius, Cassius, not Cassius Clay, my bad. Played by the best dad in all of cinema history. Yes, Mr. Pedro himself.
Yes. So just kind of get into it. We see the wife and we're already like, she's about to get packed up. We've seen the trailer. You weren't in the trailer. There's no way you're surviving this. But it's really cool, like, just seeing that she was a warrior in that aspect of it. So we have the initial attack fight scene. Just kind of getting into it. We see that Hanno / Lucius is, like, the general leader of this, essentially, group of people. And then with that, we're just kind of, like, fast-forwarding a bit where, essentially, his wife gets KO'd under the orders of General Acacius. So he has kind of that dream and premonition of, oh, I see her in the afterlife getting on the ferry. I believe Charon, if I'm being correct about it. Yeah, Charon taking her across in the ferry. We see that kind of like dreamscape a lot in the movie of just him going flashing back and forth. And we also hear her saying, I'm going to wait for you. So with that, he's taking in as a slave. Something that was really crazy is that they just like gently escorted him back to the I don't know if y'all picked up on that. They gently escorted him back to like
I caught that immediately because I thought that was like his own men like just carrying him back, and then I realized, oh wait, no, hold on, how? Why?
I'm like, bro, they just killed your wife.
Fight this man.
So essentially, just to kind of just wrap up these initial parts of it, we see Acacius. They're burning the bodies of just like all of the fallen troops from this African realm. And then just like the wailing of the people, the mothers, the ones that are being taken into slavery, they get branded and put on a boat. But you also see Acacius, he has kind of just like that regretful look on his face. So I don't know how you felt about this first part, Dalton, as we got into it.
I mean, I love the way it looked. I mean, I thought it was a great way to kind of open up the movie. Like, I think it showed the like modernity, like the time jump as far as like this movie being made 20 years later. Like they didn't try to make it look like it was made in 2000.
No, sure.
I mean, I think that's fair to say. And then and then I don't know where that city actually is in relation to like real world, but I thought it was really cool with them having to take boats and then like, drop the ramps and do all that stuff. I just thought everything looked crazy. Like it was awesome.
Siege warfare is always cool, especially with us being Lord of the Rings fans. So just like seeing that take place was cool. So moving forward, they get taken to the port city of Rome. We see that upon his arrival, General Acacius is treated as a hero. In the title scene, they say that they're twin emperors. So we have Emperor Gata and then Emperor. And then I will call him Cadillac, Emperor Cadillac, the younger brother who is crazy. I don't feel like remembering his name. It's like Cathedral or something like that.
Emperor idiot.
So apparently, syphilis.
It's like Geta and like Colossus or Colossus, right?
Yeah. So I will be calling him
or something.
I will be calling him Cadillac throughout this review. So essentially, with that, we see that they're thirsting for war. Acacius, he gets back. He's like, yo, can I just chill with my wife, please? And they're like, yo, we got to take Persia. We got to take India. So just get ready with it. So we then find out that this is crazy. Acacius is with the mom of Lucius. So literally the dude that killed your wife has been sleeping with your mom for years, which is crazy.
You know that family reunion going to be awkward.
In the afterlife. So just kind of moving forward with that, we also see that he has a plot against the emperors. So within 10 days time, he has like an army of 5,000 loyal specifically to him. Throughout the entire movie, something that's an important plot point is that they talk about Marcus Aurelius, who has passed away, I believe, 16 years to the before this movie starts. So just with that, they want to push on his dream of Rome, just kind of like the people, the Senate taking over, not really just like empires in war with that. So what's her name again? Lucilla, and then Acacius, they want to fulfill that dream. And then with that, we see on the other side, we see our boy Macrinus. And so with that, Lucius is recruited and he's fighting these super monkeys, apparently, because I've never seen a breed of monkeys like that before in my life. And so with that, he bites them. Another thing that was really weird about the scene. So when they fight the monkeys, obviously, the chieftain of the village, he was like, yo, I ain't got that dog in me. Whatever happens, I'm just going to die. So you need to accept that. So as soon as that scene starts, he drops to his knees, falls to the ground. Monkeys just eat his neck out. So with that, we see that Lucius, he's like, yo, I'm going to fight hard with this. And then he ends up biting a monkey, scaring it off. The crazy thing is, what happened to the rest of the monkeys?
They disappeared.
I don't get what happened. I don't know if you peeped that or not, Dalton.
I noticed that. I mean, they must said, hey, this guy's a bad boy. Like, we ain't messing with him. Leave him alone.
Yeah, he alpha.
Yeah.
Alpha monkey.
You know, he pulled up. I mean, he pulled up like Tarzan. I mean, he said like me Tarzan, you Jane, and said, "All right, boy, I got you."
I'm just glad he wasn't black.
I mean, he was in an African nation. It doesn't make it much better.
Like he's a Rome blood.
He's South African. He ain't taking no allegations around here.
So with that, Macronus is like, oh, he's interesting. Bring him to me. I'm gonna buy him. So essentially, he kind of just like he knows that you have a lot of rage in you. I can use that. I breed, not breed, but I buy gladiators. I kind of just like pick them out, and I'm using this to help fund different subsets of Rome to kind of gain my influence. So we see that throughout the movie where he's just kind of moving nicely. So there's one party that he goes to where both the emperors are there, and then he makes a bet with one of the Senate people, and he's like, yo, let's put some gold on it. And absolutely just like tricks him, well, kind of tricks him into a sense. So Lucius ends up winning that battle, and then Macronus gets paid off of it, but then Emperor Gata is like, yo, giving his name, he ends up reciting this poem from something that's very familiar to him. So Emperor Gata is like, yo, what is this poem? And then also Macronus has never heard him speak before this part. So with that, he's like, oh, you're very interesting. I can definitely use you. You're going to be my instrument. He's like, yeah, I can't be like that. So anything you guys got before we get into like the first gladiator fight battle in the Colosseum?
Yeah, for me, I just thought it was like very interesting as to like which poetry like he was using. I'm like, hold on, I know I've heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought, like, is this Dante's? Is this Dante's Inferno? And honestly, I probably need to like do more research, but I know it was by Virgil. That's the only part that I can remember, or at least that I can like recognize just from the first listen. I'd have to probably listen to it multiple times just to get that aspect of it.
Yeah, Dalton, you got anything before we get to the Colosseum?
I just liked how he kind of took him to the shed without, using weapons at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "I'm not trying to kill you," and then he was like, "All right, I guess I got to now."
Yes. All right. So with that, what was really interesting is that he essentially gave away his identity at the scene, or at least heavily hinted at it. So when we get to the Colosseum scene, we see Acacius again moving in with Lucius' mom, which is just crazy. And he sees this and he's like, yo, mom, you're an op. You're sleeping with the ops. I can't trust you. And you're behind these crazy emperors who just like killed my wife and took over my entire country, essentially. So with that, moving forward, they end up fighting a rhino battle, and the current champion, I would say, of the arena, who's undefeated. You see, again, his strategy. He does the pick up rocks thing that Maximus does in the first movie, which is a callback. This movie surprisingly really relies on callbacks to the first Gladiator movie, maybe because the gap between movies is so long, but that's something that we can talk about a little bit later with that. So throughout the course of the fight, they essentially win. He is losing at first, and then he's like, hey, don't spare me. We fight to the death round here. So it's all about getting it back in blood. And then Emperor Gata is reciting the poem, and then his mom picks up on this, and she's like, oh, I know this. So she goes back to she heads back home. She's like, oh, okay. I'm reading the poem that's like written on her home place. And throughout the course of this, we see like this woman who's just like, she's peeking around corners and stuff, and you can't really, she looks suspicious. You're like, oh, she about to be talking. So Lucia, is that her name again? Lucilla is like, okay, I got to go visit him. So it's very clandestine under the cover of night. She's like, hey, Lucius, are you my boy? And then he's like, yo, that kid died a long time ago. He got left behind. He's not really with that traitor mommy that's like looking at him. So definitely parental issues.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's like, hey, a key thing for like most like Roman or Greek tragedies, like, hey, the family unit broken, and that's gonna lead to tragedy throughout. Of course, like you see in like more instances of like, okay, who is this kid? Like you see in flashbacks to the first movie, flashbacks to him's like, oh wait, hold on, that's his son. And then you see like, oh yeah, the reason why she sent him away is because they're like, hey, Maximus is dead now. Literally, you're next in line to be king, next to be ruler. You know the ops is gonna come for you like crazy, so I need to send you away for your own protection. And he's like, man, I don't care about that.
It was really weird because the way, because if she sent him away when he was already the next heir, so essentially once her brother, that was her brother in the first movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so when her brother died, he becomes essentially the emperor or emperor regent, something like that, like age or whatever. Why would you gotta send you away? Because someone else, like you just saw, filled in the void of that.
That is a good question. I think like a good act. I don't say she was probably like acting in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like an emotional person would.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say something, but
I know you were about to say it.
So pat on my back for stopping myself, and yeah, it's just like, okay, we need to, but yeah, we could tell like that just caused everything to go to spiral.
Yeah, so that's definitely interesting, especially considering the fact they were like, hey, do we know that's his Maximus' son in the first movie? Is it like strongly hinted?
I think it's strongly hinted at like towards the end of the movie, like right before he dies.
Do you recall, Dalton?
No, like I'll be honest, that was always confusing for me whether that was his son or not. Funny enough, I guess the first one was on TV after I watched the second one, and watching it back, I was like, okay, so knowing what we know now, it's not it's not far-fetched.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can see the connections. I feel like it was maybe one of those things where Ridley Scott kind of just left it open for interpretation.
That's reasonable. All right, so moving from there, over time, Lucilla goes to Cassius. She's like, hey, this is my son. He's actually the heir to the throne. So we essentially, since you're about to overthrow the emperors, we can already establish my son as the next in line. We are now fulfilling Marcus Aurelius's dream, which is something that's repeated throughout the movie. And this is where it gets interesting. So the lady that was creeping the entire movie goes to the senator, and then the senator, he goes to Macrinus, but he's already in a lot of debt. So Macrinus actually rolls up in his home and is like, hey, I own your house now, get out, which was so funny. Oh my gosh, Denzel was the G in this movie. I am not gonna lie.
100%. You know the way Denzel talk, he gonna chew the scenery every time. He's the main character of this movie. I'm not gonna lie.
We will get to that. We will get to that. So with that, I really love like the condescendingness of it, where he just like he kisses his hands, kisses him on the cheeks. He's just like, yo, you about in trying to break free Lucius, and then also the plot to overthrow the emperors. They bring that to the emperors, and let me tell you something. Pedro Pascal, or General Cassius in this case, was so spicy in this scene, because I'm like, yo, if you're painting these emperors as crazy people, why wouldn't they just be like, oh, you want to talk spicy to us? We gonna take your wife and we gonna do something to her. Keep talking crazy. So I don't know how y'all felt about that one.
Man, I was saying he better man than me. I'm going postal right then and there. Kill the emperors like what? What the Praetorian Guard gonna do? Huh? What? Oh, you gonna spin the block on me for your dead emperors? What you gonna do, huh?
Yeah, who they clearly don't like, which we can tell by the end of the movie. But once they get caught, we see then Macrinus, who has been like he's been in their ear their entire time. He's like, hey, don't just execute him. Let the gods decide, put him in the arena. So we flash forward to it, go to the arena. He takes out, some of his own guard who they like have respect for. And then it's like, oh, remember, I made this promise to you. Essentially, Macrinus is like, I made this promise to you, to Lucius, where I will give you the head of General Cassius. So the two of them fight, and then towards the end, once he establishes like essentially victory over him, and they give the thumbs down, he denies like killing Cassius, because Cassius is like, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in your father's dream. I believe in
Your grandfather
your
dream.
grandfather's dream, and then also I believe in Maximus. I would have followed him into the depths of hell, essentially, with that. And then so Lucius is like, yo, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to do the bidding of the emperors and Macrinus. And yeah, we get the thumbs down. The gods have spoken, and yo, they light him up with arrows. It reminded me of the first Lord of the Fellowship of the Rings.
See, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but he definitely got that Boromir chicken, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on this scene, Dawson?
I don't know if y'all seen Troy. I got heavy Troy vibes, like with Brad Pitt. It was like, all right, so we can't kill this guy. Let's see how many times we can shoot him.
Crazy.
One of them arrows gonna hit his heart.
Yeah, that was actually like really sad in the moment, especially because Lucius is then like, hey, this is how they treat your heroes. So how do you think they feel about you people, the general public? And the thing that's important about the scene is they have the archers like encircle the arena. Want to try something, you can. We will shoot you under the orders of the emperor. So it's like fall in line. But I believe before that scene, one of the cooler fight scenes was I just need to mention this, was the aquatic battle where they had sharks, they were on ships and just like fighting that. So that was what Acacius was warning, was like, hey, this is the bigger of the battles where most don't survive. So again, we see Lucius' combat skill and just like general know-how. So moving forward after that, we see this is where it gets really interesting. There are riots in the street. With that, they're like, yo, we're not putting up with these corrupt emperors who always want war. You just killed our hero, General Acacius. And then we see Macrinus start making moves. So he goes to Gata. He's like, hey, turn the brothers against each other. He's like, yo, send your brother away real quick. So he sends away Emperor Cadillac. He's like, yo, I'm going to go talk to him real quick. Goes to Emperor Cadillac. He's like, yo, they're going to blame you for this, I really just love this scene. So he's like, yo, they're going to blame you for this and they're going to kill your monkey. So then he goes back. He's like, yo, you got to take care of it. So then Emperor Cadillac, he comes with the dagger and he's like, yo, you're going to blame me for this. I can't let you do it. So they kind of combat and the Gata's like, yo, please don't do it. And yo, he like stabs him up first. Then Macrinus comes right behind him and just like guts him like a fish. That was crazy. So, thoughts?
Nah, Macrinus, nah. That man had plans upon plans.
He was making moves because you think that to an extent that he's like, okay, I am going to be like underneath the emperors, and you're thinking that he's going to be like with Gata and kind of control him because he's the competent one. But he was like, no, it's easier to control an incompetent one. So we see just in the Senate scene where Emperor Cadillac pulls up, he's like, hey, my first advisor is the monkey, which is crazy.
My whole theater just went like, we all had a collective groan in the theater. That's what happened.
And the senators are looking like, have you lost your mind? So then we see Macrinus pulls up with a bag and we're like, yo, what's in the bag? But then he gets appointed second advisor, essentially. And then, the emperor walks away and he's like, all right, the idiot is out of the room. Good. So he picks up the bag. He's like, hey, listen to me now. Pulls out the head of Emperor Gata, which was crazy.
I love power.
That, how they frame that in the trailers versus in the movie, because you're like, yo, I'm waiting for this speech the entire time, and it's like, no, it's not as bad as you even like it really is. So again, he, like you mentioned, Meets is like, yo, I need power and control over all of the Praetorian guards. I will stop the riots in the street, but you have to listen to me. I have the ear of the emperor. And then all of the senators are like, yo, I'm gonna just fall in line, which was crazy. So if y'all want to take over just like the next couple scenes, which kind of wraps up to the end.
Oh yeah, so then in comes perhaps one of the most treacherous parts about this. So All right, so of course Magnus, he out here, he big balling now, and he goes and tells Lucilla like, oh yeah, so you're still gonna die anyways, you know what I'm saying? Because once you die, I secure my path to the throne. There'll be no one left to stop me. You know what I'm saying? So you gonna die. Just make sure you good. And then of course, Lucius, like he's like, at this point, he's meeting up with Raja. Like he sees like where Maximus was, where his armor and his sword lie. And then he finally like remembers, of course, flashback to the first movie, and he's like, "All right, this for you, pops." Puts on the armor with the two horses, and then grabs a knife and goes out. And it turns out like, hey, this this is all part of Magnus's plan. Like the plan is that you have the execution of Lucilla. She dies, riots is on the streets, and then he gonna blame Emperor Idiot.
Yep.
And get him clapped, and then boom, it's all him.
And something important when he's talking with Lucilla is that we find out that he has beef personally with Marcus Aurelius because he used to be Marcus Aurelius's slave. So it's hinted at throughout the movie that, oh, he used to be a slave. He has like real like beef with Rome and stuff like that. Like even earlier in the movie, Lucius is like, what's your real name before you change into a Roman one? He's like, you're not going to ever know that. With that, I have my own reasons to do what I want. So we have the big, before we get to the big battle, early in the movie, this is something that was really weird. They let Lucille move around too much for someone that was trying to quote unquote betray them, and committed treason, because she was just moving throughout. I mean, she was kind of guarded, but she was still sneaking, and like they should have just put her. Look at us. We're about to get into how we actually felt about this movie. So, and who we thought was the good guy of the movie. So Lucille should have been in the cell of the movie, but she gives her ring to Lucius. Lucius gives this ring to the doctor. The doctor gives the ring to the other army. Yes, that was waiting with the 5,000. So they killed the sub. They weren't a jailer, but like number 2 to Macrinus. All the gladiators pour out to help defend Lucille because it was just supposed to be Lucius with one wooden sword, which was crazy. And then with that, something that was really funny is that he used the same speech before his country got overtaken. And in the movie, I was like, you might want to retire that speech. I don't know if you want to use the same speech that you used before your wife got killed.
Your wife got clapped to that speech, and then we see what happens next.
Yeah, so before we get to the end anything you got, Dalton?
Nah, just I mean, I like I don't know, I enjoyed like I guess them finally kind of getting like to the whole Maximus thing. It was cool. They kept the armor.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting how they like buried him down there. It was almost like, hey, so we know we can't just like pretend he didn't exist, but also like we can't like bury him like he was like an emperor or royalty. So they're like, how about we just put him down here and forget that happens.
Yeah, because we see his name scratched out on like the Gladiator memorial with that. So with that, again, they flood out. The gladiators essentially take out the Praetorium. Macrinus learns that the 5,000 are on their way. And like right before Lucius is able to save his mom, Macrinus takes an arrow. He's like, give it here. Kills Lucille. I think the reason that they did this, Dalton, I know you haven't said the Penguin, so I'm not going to say what happens at the end of the Penguin, but I think similar to that, they're like, hey, you need to know that Macrinus is a villain. This is why we're doing this. So when he killed Lucille at the end of the movie, and then he just like flees. So it's like his plan had already failed at that point. So the only reason he killed her was like out of pettiness, essentially.
Spiteful.
So he went to dip out. Then he runs into the 5K. Lucius pulls up on him. They do battle. Macrinus is kind of holding his own, but you're like, yo, we know this dude is about to get clapped. And then he gets his hand cut off, and then he gets his gut slashed.
Yeah.
And then I felt a sadness in my soul at that, and I was like, oh. So with that, essentially it just wraps up there. Lucius is like, hey, let's unite as one under Rome. Let's live out the dream. Goes back to the arena, has like, hey, Dad, please speak to me. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. And also reveal that he's the heir to the throne. He's the
Yeah.
Prince of Rome.
So with that, give me 3 reasons why Macronus shouldn't be the main protagonist of this movie.
Man, give me 5.
I felt like he was so much more interesting. Like, imagine if he was the main character of this movie. We would absolutely be rooting for him. We all know what happened in The Last of Us 2. We're not going to say it. People can live that trauma in 2025. And Dalton, we've had this conversation so many times about just like one of the characters in The Last of Us 2 and how I feel about it. And
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
and how you're like, if you flip the perspective, it makes perfect sense on why certain people did what they did. If you want to elaborate.
No, like, I don't know, like it just, I don't know, like I feel like I guess I thought about this like after the fact. I was like, man, like I know y'all have seen like the Dark Knight trilogy, and I'm sitting like, man, this guy's got to be like Ra's al Ghul in the flesh, because like this dude's pulling some League of Shadows stuff out of here. He's like, hey, we gotta get Rome to fall, brothers. Like we gotta do what we gotta do. And so I just kind of felt like it's like without him, I don't know if the plot moves. Like realistically, like I think that's kind of like what you were saying. Like without him making moves, it's like okay, so Lucius would have just been like, oh, I'm just gonna be here forever, and then nothing would have happened. I don't know. That's just me.
Nah, Meech.
I mean, hey, yes, the black swagger, you know what I'm saying? It's Denzel Washington. So firstly, number 2, he chews out every scenery, and second and thirdly, like again, like he has the type of motivation that you see many main characters that have, which is, hey, I was oppressed and now I'm getting my get back against the nation that enslaved me. Like I'm completely justified. He giving Magneto run for his money, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, the thing is that like they were talking about, okay, Marcus Aurelius, who was emperor at the time. So he had plenty of time to establish his vision of Rome. Obviously, they were going to put it as, oh, people are working against him. But as emperor, he could have established his vision of Rome. And it's like, oh, we got to live up to it. We got to live up to it. They were repeating this throughout the movie. And then even seeing it from Macronus' perspective is like, yo, you're saying this. You were still conquering countries before we got to the current emperors. I was a slave. So, I mean, what is this? What are we trying to protect? Which was crazy because they're like, hey, let's protect it, Rome, with this Third Reich nonsense. And then he's like, I'm about to destroy Rome. So it was really interesting. He was on his Aaron Yeager flow with that.
Of course, it had to be a black man to establish change, and of course, they want to make the black man the villain. It's crazy.
All right. So kind of with that, what are your like general thoughts about the movie? I know, Dalton, you shared a little bit of it right when we left the theater. So if you want to go into it.
I thought as like a period piece, I guess. I don't know if there's been much like any better movie. Like I thought the sets, this like just the I guess choreography of the fights. I thought everything was very well done. It was almost like I was watching like a I can't even think of the right word, like not a documentary, but kind of like a history come alive kind of thing. But my main issue just throughout the whole movie is I was like, I don't know what the main story is, because when you watch the first one, there's obviously multiple things going on, like, but there was like a main story. And then in this one, it was like, so they have the multiple side things going on, but then the main story with Lucius was like, so what exactly was his main story? Because it feels like halfway through, it was like, maybe this is Macronus' story, kind of like what we were talking about. And then it was like, no, this is Lucius. And then it was like, so how, I don't know. That was kind of my thing.
Me to kind of see your point there, especially with regards to like Lucius and just how much of a he was a passive character in this movie, in the sense of like, hey, everything was a passive / reactionary character. Like things happen to him and he reacts because of it. Whereas with Macronus, boy, he was the plot. He said, you know what? Hey, I'm making the moves. I'm making the changes happen. And if anything, like, because honestly, I believe like with the trailers, you kind of like have it be like the movie's kind of like, oh yeah, Lucius and maybe Macrinus was gonna like work together to take down the two emperors.
Mhm.
Whereas when the movie came out, obviously it was more like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Lucius kind of fumbling around and eventually taking down Macrinus, who takes down the emperors, kind of supplanting them as the main villains.
That was a good point because Lucius never really wanted the throne or hinted at it throughout the entire movie until like when his mom gave him the ring after Acacius died. And then even then it was just kind of like, because like we've seen this plot before, the sole heir who lost his throne, someone corrupt overtook it. He has to come back. I mean, the plot of Lion King, where it's like, okay, he has to come back home. He has to come back home, establish himself. But even with that, we're just like, he really didn't want the throne at all until like the very end of the movie. So with that, we can kind of get into like a little bit of talking like these big sequels, because before I saw this movie, like earlier in the week, I saw Coming to America, the second one. And the person that I was watching with, I literally looked at them. I was like, if I wasn't watching this with you, I would cut this off. Because it felt like they were like, hey, here's a bag, let's make a sequel. And like with it, they were just like honoring people. It was really cool because literally at least 2 people in that movie died this year in the Coming to America movie, which was like sad to see. So it felt like a celebration of that. But at the same time, with that plot, I was like, I called the plot out in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. And similar to what both of you shared, the plot was like, hey, Lucius is going to be on the throne. I just didn't know about the Macrinus part. So I don't know how y'all feel about like just these legacy sequels, because this movie I enjoyed it. I just don't know if we needed it.
Honestly, it all, like, for me, I feel like the main way legacy sequels work is if like say like a movie pretty much like ended off on a cliffhanger and you needed to like resolve that plot point. That's where I can kind of see it going. Or if a movie franchise has become so convoluted to absolute oblivion that honestly you need to just press the reset button. I'm looking at you, Halloween. I only count Halloween 2018. There was nothing after that, unfortunately. Michael Myers died.
Was pretty good.
Unfortunately, Michael Myers died in the fire. That was about it. Yeah, there's too bad there weren't more sequels after that. But in any case, like, getting back to my point, like when it comes to legacy sequels, there has to be a reason for a legacy sequel to happen. And I think like you can't do a legacy sequel on a movie that had a definitive start, middle, and end. If that end is pretty definitive, like all plot points resolved, no issues whatsoever, no need for one. You guys agree?
Star Wars.
Yes.
Dalton, your thoughts on this?
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's like it. I feel like sometimes it's a case by case basis. Like this one was a weird one because I felt like, I mean, this won Best Film back in 2000, I believe. So it's like, so you're already setting yourself up for high expectations by trying to take something that's a classic and then trying to, I guess, continue it on. And oftentimes that does not work out very well. I mean, I think we see it. I mean, like what Mitch said, like with Star Wars. I mean, I'm personally not a big fan of 7, 8, 9. It was like, do we really need those? Or like I know it's a little different, but even like when they do these like live action remakes, I'm like, do we really need this stuff? Like, I'll be honest, How to Train Your Dragon thing, I'm like, that movie came out like 12 years ago.
We don't.
That was not even ever on my bingo card.
I got into an argument with my sister about it because she was like, this looks like a banger. And I said, name one remake that was good. I'm still waiting. This was a week ago.
All right, so I think we can move forward with this and get into our awards. All right, so for my first award, this one was actually pretty tough. It's the Gruesome Death Award. there are a couple of nominees that I had to write down. So we have getting eaten by sharks in a sand-filled arena. That's one.
How?
That's one nominee. The second one, baboon, death by baboon. Third one, harpoon to the chest at the very start of the movie. A ship harpoon to the chest. And the next one, beheading by your own brother with a dagger, which probably took a long process. What do you guys think?
I mean,
See,
I think that honorable mention of the double sword slice needs to be in there too. I mean,
that's what I was about to say. I was like, where's
You know,
the double?
Was it gruesome?
I mean, that was the cleanest one of them all, I guess.
But it was clean. That's the thing.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, I guess if out of all those, if I had to go, I guess that one. But
Well, by option, we are going with the double sword slice for the most gruesome death award. So we will give this dude's head an award.
All right. So for mine, it is the Rock Lee dropping the weights award. For a moment where main character get their second win, and they really out here on full power / demon status. And of course, it's gonna go to Lucius, but just like you, there's some nominations for like his drop the weight moments. Number one, when he went postal on Acacius, full postal on him. Number two, when he put on his daddy armor, you can say that was his dropping the weight moment because he finally let all his hatred go and he pulled up. And number three, when he was underwater getting stabbed by my boy Macromus.
I feel like he had literal plot armor. He was wearing literal plot armor that kept him from dying.
Yep. And if you want, so those are my nominations for that award.
I'll go with A.
You go with A, going full postal. You know what?
I concur. A.
Yep. Okay, I'm all right. I'm in agreement. Yeah, him going full postal on the man that killed his wife or guy his wife clapped.
Hit that, daddy. All right, Dalton, your award.
The one I got is the you really spitting now. I mean, to me personally, if you just won like a 1v1 and you get the mic, I mean, we've watched some UFC, people say some crazy things. This guy didn't talk trash. He didn't say nothing. This man quoted poems or literature, which to me is crazy. Like, you're not just flexing like, hey, like I just beat this guy. You're also flex like, hey, I'm also smarter than all y'all too.
Yeah.
And so when he started quoting the Virgil, I was like, yep, that was pretty cold.
All right, for my next award, so we can speed through this, we have the op above all. Usually it's the biggest op, but we had to upgrade it. It has to go to Macronus. Macronus literally played everybody. Again, like Meech, you mentioned that we thought it was going to be Macronus and Lucius up against the Emperors. No, it was Macronus versus everybody, and he almost came out on top with it. So Denzel Macronus, you got to get this award.
Yeah, and also for me, we gonna create a new award tonight, everybody. And this one is called the Snitches Get Stitches Award because ain't no way. Here's my nominees. Number one, we got that one stupid that woman guard with Lucilla. Like you saw her in the background and you saw her with those eyes like peering out, and then she peered back and you're just like, oh Lord, what happened? Oh Lord, what's she about to go? Who's she gonna snitch to?
Mm-hmm.
And then next one, technically Macromus. Macromus was a snitch. It served his goal, but he still snitched.
Mm-hmm.
He snitched out Lucilla. He snitched out our boy Acacius. Come on now. So
I would say it has to go to Macronus. He actually got stitches.
you right. You right. Yeah. Because honestly, what did happen to that?
She disappeared.
Ooh, dang, that's right. Yep, it has to go to Macronus. Macronus, get yourself right back up here because you a big, you not only just the biggest op, you one of the biggest snitches out here. Don't let me catch you lacking out here on 6th Street.
All right, so Dalton, do you have any other awards or can we go into tiers?
Oh, we go into tears.
All right, Meech, can you just read off the usual tiers that we go through?
All right. So in terms of the tiers, we have the F tier, absolute garbage. You got the D tier, which you know what? We need to wait on this to get rebooted. You got the C tier.
Well, I have a question. For the F tier, are we going to name that the Flash tier or are we going to name it the Joker 2 tier?
Dang. Because both is hot garbage. You know what? How about this? It's banished to the DC verse. No.
Hey, you ought to just call it Banish the Snyder Cut.
banished to the DCEU.
All right, keep going.
Yep. All right. So F tier, banished to the DCEU. D tier, we waiting it for it to get rebooted. C tier, you know what? It was just fine. That's about it. B tier, you know what? We maybe watch it again. We'll maybe watch it again. A tier, yep, we seen it multiple times in the theater. And then the S tier, give me my Citizen Kane. I'm needed to be the goats of goats. We glazing it for all eternity. So what y'all giving this movie?
Dawson?
I think I'd give it a B tier. I mean, I enjoyed it, perfectly suitable. Like, there's no regrets seeing the movie. I had a good time, enjoy it. If it came on TV, I'd probably throw it on.
For me, I'm going to give it the B tier too. I was debating between B and C just because leaving the theater after Macroness died, I was a little bit like, that was it. But with that, again, like you mentioned, I really enjoyed the movie for most of it. Minor plot points. I think, again, if Macroness was the main protagonist of the movie, probably A tier, but definitely a solid B. Something like I don't regret watching the movie. So yeah, Meech.
Yeah, I would definitely give it a B tier as well. Yeah, I said like it was a pretty good serviceable movie. I would watch it again. Definitely like like say movie night or like doing like a little mini movie marathon. Pop on the first Gladiator, go right into this one. I'd do that. And yeah, the theater experience was pretty live, especially who I saw it with. So yeah, I'll definitely give it a B.
All right, dope. So with that, wrapping up our movie review, we're going to get into a quick what's hot because all of us have bedtimes and got to go to work tomorrow. So with that, this is what's hot in anime, pop culture, movies, TV shows, books, comics. So gaming, guys, what do you have?
It's you, Dalton.
Arcane. That is all. Arcane is elite. That is, I have never watched something as fantastic as that, like in a long time. I say that there's been a lot of good TV shows, but like that was like you insert the Scorsese meme, absolute cinema. Like that's that TV show.
I absolutely concur. Mitch?
Mm-mm. All right, so of course got Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. You got Frame Lock. Oh, sorry, Blue Lock season 2. My bad. We got One Piece is literally on hiatus, and by hiatus I mean it's redoing the first time skip arc. So yeah, so if you already seen it, no need to rewatch it. Keep moving. We got ourselves, the Dune Prophecy, which is the series, the prequel to Dune. So if you're into that, go ahead and watch it on HBO Max, or just Max, my bad. The Venom War is ending in comics, so hey, we get ourselves a new Venom host. We also have ourselves, as you mentioned, the How You Train Your Dragon live action. I'm just doing the announcements, all right. It's a thing, okay.
Sonic 3.
Oh yes.
The trailer drops tomorrow. Well, as of we're recording this, the new trailer for it drops tomorrow.
Oh yes, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that expeditiously.
So I'm tapping it.
I'm gonna need that expeditiously because I'm not gonna lie, Sonic has actually been cooking lately. But also speaking of cooking, Death Battle. As much as I hate Death Battle for their biases against Dragon Ball, yes, I will stand 10 toes down on that because there's no way Bardock should lose to Omni-Man.
Yeah, go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
but they did the Eggman versus Bowser episode, and I'm not gonna lie, that episode cooked. That episode cooked hard. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I was like, good heavens, this almost makes me want to subscribe to y'all again after I dumped y'all. But yeah, what you got? Keep it moving.
All right, so just quickly, Cobra Kai season 6, part 2. The way they ended that was one of the cruelest endings I have ever seen in a TV show. Just like Arcane, absolutely just like in their bag. I thought that part 2 is the final part. There's actually going to be a part 3 that drops in 2025. So how they wrap up with these last 5 episodes, I have no idea, because what just happened at the end of part 2, there's no coming back from. You literally can't come back from that. So just with that, and then other trailers, Skeleton Crew drops, I believe, relatively soon in December. And then something, probably the biggest news out of all of this, GNX, the Kendrick Lamar album. Absolutely took over the internet, dropped it last Friday. Yeah, he cooked on that one. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. That's all I gotta say.
Oh nah, I ain't ready for the Super Bowl, man. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready.
This man gonna come out in a raptor costume with an owl on his shoulder and rap, not like a...
Man, I'm saying that if your name is Audrey, just go ahead and pack it up. Just go to sleep. Just don't even show up for the Super Bowl, my guy.
All right, so just to wrap up the episode, again, moving forward, we're going to take a break next week, potentially 2 weeks in a row, but we are going to wrap up with a season 4 mailbag. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, Q&A type style, or just like comments of that, we are going to be here to answer that. So that's going to be within the next 2 weeks. So with that, we're going to get into our plugs where you can reach us, Meech.
Yep. So we got ourselves our Instagram, our X, formerly known as Twitter, and Threads on the Blerd City 22. Like, comment, subscribe, stay up to date on all notifications. We have our Discord linked in the Instagram page. That's where you can join this fine community of pure degeneracy. We have our YouTube and Patreon under Blerd City Pod. If you want to donate some cheddar to the Patreon and get access to very exclusive episodes never before seen. We have ourselves our email address, blerdcity22@gmail.com. That's where you want to submit your aforementioned questions for the mailbag, you submit them there. Episode suggestions for the podcast, submit them there. If you want to send criticism, it goes right to the spam box, never to see the light of day ever again. Finally, I am the Jedi Bono Musafar on TikTok, however long we got TikTok left. And what y'all got?
Dalton, you got any plugs you want to share? Or
Nah, I don't got much. I'm pretty boring.
all right, so with my Instagram, we have my author Instagram, that is Metri_dash, METRI_DASH. For my X/Twitter, that is at the Matt-16. And if you're interested in my book, Phantom Reckoning, that is available on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. So wrapping up, again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you just enjoy this episode as you're traveling to or from where you're trying to get to. So moving forward, we're going to get you with those words of encouragement that we will leave to our guest.
Well, yeah, I just want to say, been a great year so far. 2024, got about another month left of it. Let's get into 25 and get rolling. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Whether you celebrate it or not, and then roll into the holidays and just have a great time and spend time with family and friends.
Oh boy. All right, so as we usually say, it's not goodbye forever, it's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blerd City Podcast.
See ya later.